Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I've like recorded this video like 3 times already, and every time I've had to delete the video because I record these videos in one shot, one take. That's it, bro. Legit. In the first one, my dad came in and kind of interrupted the video, and I had to then click off of it and then restart it. Yay! Then the second time, I ended the recording on accident with my leg because I was putting my phone on. And then the third one, my phone just got full and I needed to end the video, so yeah. I probably shouldn't be spending. I probably should be recording the video right now, so we're just gonna get into it. Today we're just gonna be talking about Resident Evil 7 and 8. In both, we'd be playing as Ethan Winters. I think he was an engineer or something, right? An engineer, and his wife goes missing for 3 years. He gets a message from her after 3 years, and I think he goes to Virginia. That's Virginia, yeah. And then he then goes to her location that she sent, and that's when the events of Resident Evil 7. We're just gonna end it there, just because it's gonna take way too long if I explain the entire game too. But pretty much at the end, or pretty much during the game, he just fights a lot of monsters, and also a broken and also just unlucky family that was affected in the game by mold. I don't know either. And I'm not even gonna try with Resident Evil 8 because that game I haven't even played it. I've only played Biohazard. I've only seen both games. Biohazard, that was different. Like, I played it, but I only played it once and I never played it again because I was so scared. Someone in my family had it. I forgot who, but I think it was my uncle. I could be wrong though. Not sure. But enough about that. But I'm sure every single, or maybe not every single, but I'm sure some Resident Evil fans have thought about Resident Evil 7 at least once or twice, and also 8, and have asked themselves the same question in both games. And this mainly comes after they play Village. What would happen if Ethan Winters was never killed and infected with the mold? It's always these what if questions that always interest me. And today I want to see if I could tackle it. Now I'm going to be going over gameplay and also story. I'm going to start with the gameplay just because I feel like it might be the hardest, but then again, the story could even be harder, but like I said, we're going with it. We're going for it. But by the way, I've been outside for like a couple hours since okay, enough. Okay, I should really stop. Just focus on the video. God damn it. I'll talk about it at the end. But gameplay. In both Resident Evil 8 and 7, we are in first person. Both games bring a lot new things to the table when it comes to Resident Evil games. For now, we're going to be talking about Resident Evil 7. 8 we'll do later on in the video, so don't worry about it. Gameplay. Now, in normal gameplay, you get knocked. There's certain levels to your health. There's good, green, then there is yellow, and I think then there's orange, and then there is red. These represent these represent your health. Green means that you're fully healed. I think there is a yellow. Yellow means that you took a little bit of damage, but you're still good, I guess, in a way. Orange means, you took a lot of damage. You're still pretty good to go. And then red just means, bro, heal up, bro. And I'm pretty sure there's technically a fifth, the black, that's when you just pretty much die, but we won't count that. This is the version of Ethan Winters that never died. By the way, I have my glasses off. This is the version of Ethan Winters that never died and was never infected with the mold. Now, the health is going to be a little difficult, but I'm going to prop you up a little bit. Oh, shit. Prop you up. There you go. Do you want to say hi? You want to say hi to the people? My dog wants to say hi, guys. Yeah, he loves me. Sorry. Anyways, enough about that. Enough about my dog. You know what I'm saying? Well, dude. Trying to grab my glasses and shit. Anyways, the health is gonna be a little different. Of course, since there is 4 levels, and since this version of Ethan Winters is not dead and he is human, he is alive, and I guess well, if you think that way, I don't know. But yeah, he's alive and thriving. Now, whenever Ethan Winters takes damage in this version of the game, he will take a little bit more damage. He will get knocked to his orange state, his orange health. Kind of. He'll get like knocked to his health where it's between orange and yellow, where he's sorry about that. Hey, Danny. No. Danny. God damn it. Sorry, guys. I don't know why my dog is barking. I'm not gonna record this video again, so I'm just gonna continue. If you don't like me talking, then like you could have just said so, man. Like, I know you guys can talk, bro. Like, I've seen those videos of dogs talking, bro. I know you can talk. Oh, that's why. There's a guy on the freaking. I'm not gonna lie, I recorded a video the other day and I saw the fucking guy over there and I was like, damn, what the fuck is he doing up there? About that. But yeah, gameplay wise, you're taking a lot more health away, and also in Resident Evil 7, there is a blocking or guarding mechanic where Ethan can block certain attacks. Well, I want that feature to be used a little more, because I feel like in the normal game you didn't use it as much. And I also want this game to have more health, have you get more health often, and not just whenever you can craft it, and whenever you go get to a new area. Of course, I don't want to make it too easy. Hey, shh. I don't want to make it too easy. So the way it's gonna work is like if you get knocked down to your orange health, but then once you get knocked down to your orange health, and if you get hit another time, you get knocked to your red health. But I'm gonna add an extra level to your health, the dark red health. That's when the health meter is gonna say, bro, you better heal up, you bitch. You're deeply wounded. We'll go with that. You're deeply wounded in this state. You have to heal or you're gonna die. And I want like things to be different. I don't want it just to be like you pour it on your hand and then that's it. No, I want there to be bandages or something like that. bandages. That would that would make more sense. So, and like I said, I want the guarding feature to be. I want you to be more relying on that feature. Well, not too much, but to the point where you think, okay, I need to use this a little more. So the way it would work is that even though you would take a little bit of health away, even if you do block, it's miles times better than taking a full fucking punch to the face by fucking Jack Baker. So, like I said, that's how it would work. You would have the guarding ability, the blocking ability. You would have to be more reliant on that, and then the and then and then also you would probably, when you fall from a decent height, nothing too much, like Ethan would drop down, like whenever there's a ladder and there's a ledge and Ethan can walk off that ledge. I want him to take a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy. He's probably gonna still be in his green health. He's gonna be in his green health, and that's not gonna kill him. So I want this game to be more realistic in a way. It's still Resident Evil, of course. Certain things are not gonna make sense, but it's still kind of realistic. Ethan will take a little bit more health away. There's lots of things that help him throughout the story. There's more health. There is more health. There is the guarding or the blocking ability. And so you just have to be smart on not taking too much damage. I'm not gonna add stamina or anything like that. That would just be overkill. Come on. We don't need that. So, I think gameplay-wise, but I think everything else would just stay the same. Just a few more healing animations and a little bit more heals. You would take more damage. The guarding, the blocking feature, you have to be more reliant on that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Mostly, like, gameplay is not going to change much, but there is those few things that do change. But, yeah, there you go. And then you got the story. We got the story. It's a little difficult, but I think I'm going to try to do it story-wise. Now, there's certain parts in the game where Ethan does lose a limb. He does lose limbs a lot. This man can't keep his limbs attached, apparently, but there's certain parts in the game where he loses his limbs. And those scripted scenes in the game, well, they're not gonna happen. Sorry, they're not gonna happen. Those scenes are not gonna happen. But I'm gonna try to finesse it in a way where you think he's about to lose his hand, but in reality, he doesn't. So, let's talk about it. In the first scene, or kind of not the first scene, but in the first boss fight, we fight Mia. And eventually she gets a chainsaw. She sticks Ethan's hand to the wall with a screwdriver. And then she walks off and gets a fucking chainsaw. Well, in that moment, Ethan is trying to get the screwdriver off, and in the normal game, he's able to get it off, but then he loses his hand, right? In the normal game, he's able to get the screwdriver out, and then he gets his hand cut off. So, what if in this version of the game, he never gets his hand cut off? What happens instead is he gets the screwdriver out and then he dodges Mia's chainsaw attack. And then we get into the boss fight. Ethan still has his hand. After the boss fight, we get attacked by Jack and we get knocked out. And presumably that's when Ethan gets killed. That's when Ethan gets killed. What if this time Jack does a little different? Jack just knocks him out and doesn't kill him, doesn't do anything. He just knocks Ethan out. Well, Ethan would of course just get knocked out. He wouldn't get killed, he wouldn't get stomped. He would probably just get knocked out by that one punch. Or if they really wanted to, they can have like somebody else from the family get Ethan. Maybe Luke gets up behind Ethan and injects him with like a sedation drug, and then Ethan turns around, sees Luke, and then he passes out, and then Luke's laughing, and then Jack comes and collects him or something. But we're gonna stick with the core of the game. We're gonna have Jack just knock his bitch ass out. So Ethan, of course, in this universe, he doesn't lose his hand, but I think he would still get the watch just in case. So pretty much Margaret or Marlene, or the bitch that creates bugs, she, in the scene, we see Ethan's hand, we see the watch, and we see how she staples it back on. Well, this time she would just be putting on the watch on him and also tightening up the restraints. Everything will play out the same, and he'll get cut in the lip by Jack. But of course, they get distracted by a phone call, and then Ethan is able to escape. Of course, everything happens in the game. There is one part in the game that will not be happening. Him getting his leg cut off. I feel like what is gonna happen instead. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to do it something else. This time, this version of the game, instead of having Ethan get his leg cut off, it's gonna have him get beat into the inch of his life. Like I said, we're gonna make him as human as possible. I didn't even say that, but we'll go with it. We're gonna make him human as possible. So, what happens in that scene is, in the normal game, he gets turned around by Jack. He gets headbutted, I think, and then he falls to the ground, and then Jack just straight up gets the shovel and just drives into his leg and then chops it off, or just fucking rips it off with the shovel, bro. With the fucking shovel. That hurt like a bitch, by the way. So then, us as Ethan, we then have to crawl over, grab her leg, and then Jack waits at the white door and then puts down a strong aid medicine in the at the entrance of the room that they're in, and we grab it, and then we align our leg with our stump, and then we pour the liquid on. That's the normal game. But in this one, Jack will turn us around, punch us, and then he'll headbutt us, punch us again, and then he'll pick us back up, and then punch us again, and then throw us to the ground. And then we as Ethan then have to crawl, and then he'll drop a strong first aid medicine in front of us, and then we then have to go to the medicine and then drink it. that's a new healing animation. We're gonna drink the medicine, and if our physical body is damaged, we just pour it on our hand. That would be kind of cool. And then after we're drinking, we get our health back, and then we're back into this little boss fight, if you will. But eventually, we are able to kind of escape Jack, and we are able to acquire the pocket knife from the cop. We open the garage and we fight Jack. Now, there is something different that's gonna happen. In the car crash scene, at the end of the boss fight, we are in the car, of course. We run over Jack, but what also happens is Jack climbs onto the roof, rips off the roof, and then he gets into the car with us and just starts driving the car with us. You know, he pretty much grabs the steering wheel, starts doing that. And then at the end of the boss fight, kind of at the end, he drives it into a metal beam that almost hits Ethan. And, well, you know, Ethan gets out, and then the car starts to get set on fire, and then Jack comes out. We shoot him a little bit. He then falls to the ground. The car explodes, and then we try to climb up a ladder. Then he just shoots himself with our gun, and then we continue on. Well, this time, that's kind of gonna happen. But the car crash scene is gonna be a little different. Since I feel like Ethan barely survived that, we're gonna make him a little more smart, if you will. He's gonna be in the car still, but he's gonna be able to escape from Jack. So he's gonna break away in that car, and he's then gonna jump out of the car before it hits the beam, and that's the whole thing's gonna happen. Everything else is gonna stay the same though. The car's gonna catch on fire. Jack's gonna step out. We gotta shoot him a few times, and then he's gonna get knocked to the ground. The car explodes. Climb up the ladder. He shoots himself with a gun. That's all gonna happen. Now the chainsaw scene, the chainsaw boss fight, that's gonna be a little different. Just because that would be a fucking intense boss fight. Just because you can't take any damage. We're gonna do something a little different. Since the chainsaw is a little bit of a bigger barrier between you and the chainsaw that Jack has. Whenever Jack is hitting you with his chainsaw and you block, you're not gonna take damage. And that's the only time it's gonna happen throughout the game. Just because that's a very big attack, and I don't think Ethan would probably wouldn't survive if he didn't block. So we're gonna say that anytime he blocks with the chainsaw, he is gonna be fine. But like I said, if you get hit by the chainsaw, you're gonna get knocked down to your orange health, your very dark orange health. If you get hit by it again, you're gonna get down to your dark red health, because this thing is gonna be strong, and that's when the things could tell you, heal, bitch, heal. So, yeah, like I said, I want this game to rely more on the blocking aspect, and I want it to be more realistic. So that's one way they could do it, or one way I think they would do it. Capcom. Sorry about that. And then the final boss fight. It's a little iffy, but we'll try to go with it. Oh yeah, by the way, gameplay wise, I forgot to mention this in the gameplay part, but whenever Ethan falls from a decent height from a ledge, you know, whenever Ethan is near a ladder and he falls and he walks off the edge, I want him to take just a slightly bit of damage. Like I said, we're trying to make this game realistic as hell, but then again, this is gonna make the game a lot harder. So like I said, this is gonna make, or I didn't even say it, but I did say it in the previous recordings. This game is gonna make a gamer shed a tear, bro. But, anyways, at the end of the game, we fight Evelyn. Normal game, Ethan gets shot up into the air and then falls to the ground, or hits the ground, and then we had to shoot up. Let's make this a little more interesting. Ethan in this version, since he is human, he's not gonna survive that fall, or at least not walk away uninjured. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Ethan fall into a tree. He gets shot up and then he lands in a tree. Can you stop choking on the water, man? He kind of bites the water. I don't know why. He bites the water and then the water gets up to his nose. Enough about that. But Ethan will get shot up into the air and then he'll land in a tree. He'll, the scene will show in first person. We'll show that we're going through the tree, and then we fall out of the tree. Mostly unharmed. We're still gonna have a few cuts and bruises, but we're alive. And then Evelyn is probably Evelyn, big ass monster. She's gonna probably knock the tree over, and yeah. And we're just gonna be shooting at her in normal gameplay. And then there's a part of the boss fight where Ethan gets his leg stabbed into and then he gets lifted up. I'm gonna have that happen still. Ethan is of course still gonna be shooting and everything. But he's not just gonna walk away from that. Of course he's of course gonna have a scar there probably. So yeah. So most of the story does play out the same way, but like I said, certain parts will be a little different, like him getting his hand chopped off, his leg chopped off, and then him getting him fighting Jack in those 3 boss fights, or just 2 of them, the first 2. The car crash also, that's gonna be different too. So yeah, so very, very different. These are gonna be a very realistic kind of game. So yeah, mostly everything is gonna stay the same though, story wise at least. But yeah, but this is the version of Ethan that is human and he is alive and well. Now, the game that I low-key was actually contemplating of doing, or not doing, but I might as well do it. Resident Evil 8. We're not gonna spend too much time on this just because I don't want my phone to run out of storage. So Resident Evil 8. Yeah, just in case my phone actually runs out of battery. I want to thank you for watching. Appreciate you. If you ever do watch this, hope you subscribe. If you don't, I totally understand. If I didn't earn your subscription, then I guess. Okay, no, I'm playing. No, but I guess if I didn't earn your subscription, oh well. I'm sorry. Like the video, and remember, respect is earned, not given. But yeah, I did that in outro just in case the phone just straight up doesn't like me, bro. I'll just delete that part. Or this part, But Resident Evil 8. Ethan Winter, we play as him again. We're only going to be talking about the story now, just because the gameplay is going to work out the same as Resident Evil 7, so yeah, nothing too crazy there. But we're just going to be talking about certain parts. In that first part, when Ethan is exploring the first village, I guess, and he gets attacked by those wild monsters, and one of them gets a good chunk of his left hand. It bites a chunk of his left hand off, taking his pinky and taking a little bit of his ring finger. So the way we're gonna work this, the way this is gonna work out, is Ethan will be Well, everything is gonna happen the same way, but there is one thing that won't happen the same. Ethan will get bit right here, not right here, but right here. He'll get bit right here, and he will have a he will the monster would almost take a chunk out of his arm, but Ethan is able to get him off and hold it there for the rest of the time. And of course, the arrow through the leg, that's also gonna be the same. That's gonna be the same, just because like it's an arrow through the leg. Come on, he can walk that off. Okay, fine. Okay, normally I'm pretty sure nobody would be able to walk that off, but in Ethan's terms, we're gonna say he walked it off. Like I said, he is human, so he's probably gonna have a limp, Enough about that. Ethan, at the end of that part of the game when we survive the village, he's gonna wrap it up in bandages, his arm and his leg. He's gonna just take it out. And in the normal game, he didn't really put a bandage on it. We're gonna do the same thing for this. I'm sure his clothes are just gonna make a bandage for him, right? We'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing. And then there is a part of the game where he loses his arm, his right arm. He loses his right arm. And by, I forgot how to say her name, but I know she's Lady something, but we'll just call her Lady. Lady slices off his arm, or his hand. And since this is not Resident Evil 7 where he could just reattach it like normal, no. We're gonna do a little bit something different. Let's just say Lady won't be cutting off his arm anytime soon, or his hand. So once Ethan goes for the lever, as he's reaching for the lever, Lady is gonna slice, she's gonna swing her blades at Ethan, and she's gonna miss, of course. Ethan's gonna step back, and she's gonna be right next to him, bro. And then that's when that part of the game happens, and we, I guess, fight her. So pretty much that part won't happen. It just won't happen. And then there is the Heisenberg fight. Now, we wanted to make this game a lot more realistic. Come on. The tank that he uses in the game, when to fight Heisenberg? Well, that thing is going to be a lot more useful than it was in the fight. So what's going to happen is, Ethan's going to use it for a little bit, but then Heisenberg is going to lift it up. But Ethan's going to fall out of it, but not from a too big of a height. He's just going to fall. He's going to fall a decent height, nothing too crazy, and not fatal, of course. And he's gonna land, and after that, then that's when we get into the normal fight. We fight him for a little bit, we blow him up a little bit, and then he lifts us up into the air again. We get back onto the tank, we shoot him a little bit. This time what's gonna happen is, Ethan is gonna be shooting him, and then Chris is gonna shoot Heisenberg. And then the tank is gonna fall, and then Ethan's gonna fall out of the tank. Finally, that's when we keep going. We fight Heisenberg one last time. He then blows up, and then he blows up, and then there is one part of the game that won't be completely removed. That's him getting his heart ripped out. We're not gonna have that happen this time. What's gonna happen this time is when Mother Miranda shows up and confronts Ethan and rips out his heart, Not gonna have that happen. Everything else is gonna happen kind of the same. You know, Ethan's gonna aim his gun at Miranda and everything. But once she gets close to him, Chris and his army are gonna swarm Miranda. They're gonna start shooting at her, and then they're gonna tell Ethan to take that chance and run. Sorry, my dad was shouting on me. And when Ethan runs, you know, he is then going to contact Chris and tell him to go and save Mia. And that's when we play as Chris and we go save Mia. They're gonna bicker a little bit, but eventually he's gonna tell Chris to go and get Mia. During that time, Ethan is gonna go and get Duke, or the whatever the guy's name is, the merchant, and he's gonna have him give him a ride to Miranda. So yeah, that's gonna happen. But during that time, we're gonna be playing as Chris. We're gonna be going and finding Mia. We're gonna find Mia, and then we're gonna switch back to Ethan. And then of course, Ethan is of course gonna step out and go face Miranda. He's gonna find Miranda. Everything is gonna play out the same, except for the ending. Ethan, in the normal game, you know, he starts disintegrating, but once he grabs Rose, he's gonna see that the place is kind of collapsing, so he runs off, and then he meets Chris along the way as he's running. And then Chris will tell him, hey, I have this detonator, you know, there's explosive around, we have to get out of here. And Ethan is like, okay, bet. So this time we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna be playing as Ethan still. We're gonna be playing as him, bro. Holding Rose. What we have to do is just follow Chris. There's gonna be monsters as well, so what we need to do is just try to avoid them as Chris is killing them. Eventually we're gonna make it to a point to where we're far enough to where we could just set off the explosion. So once we make it, Chris will say, just go that way, go down the hill, you'll eventually get to the helicopter. So what we'll do, what Ethan will do is run down the hill and go to the helicopter. There's gonna be a little cutscene where Ethan is running towards the helicopter. And, you know, Mia hugs Ethan and holds Rose. Ethan sits down, and then Chris then runs to the helicopter, and then he says, get us up, move it, come on, get us out of here. And then, you know, they move up, and, you know, they escape the village. Sorry, there's the kids. But then Ethan is gonna, or, you know, Chris and Ethan are probably gonna look down and see the destruction of the village, and then that's it. Happily ever after. I mean, kind of. I mean, they're gonna, you know, Chris is gonna, you know, the soldier's gonna call Chris over, tell him this is a bioweapon. Chris could be like, shit, what the fuck? And then the scene is just probably gonna end with a close-up of Rose, and then it's just gonna cut up to black. Now the DLC, that might not happen. It really is hard, but you guys let me know. How would you tell DLC? You know, of course, there is a DLC for Village, and that is Shadows of Rose, I think? That's what it's called? I forgot. But you guys let me know. How would that how would that DLC work? How would it play out? Since Ethan's alive, there's no one really to help Rose, right? Kind of. But let me know. I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and if I earn your subscription, bet, perfect, amazing, fan-fucking-tastic. Just want to say thank you for sitting down with me and talking with me about this whole thing. This is probably one of my longer videos. Not my longest, honestly. My longest is probably that Five Nights at Freddy's creepypasta that I was talking about. But yeah, just want to say thank you for sitting down with me and talking with me. Remember, respect is earned, not given. I'm happy to finally record this video. I'm probably gonna upload it in a couple minutes maybe, so I don't forget. And I love you guys.